Hello, and welcome to our workshop. My name is Matt Gabor. My pronouns are he, him. I am the chair of our education team here at BBH Pride. You may be asking yourself, what is BBH Pride? Well, that stands for Brecksville Broadview Heights Pride. We are a local 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we do put on local workshops to help bring education to our communities. And also, we use these workshops to help meet a lot of our different community members. It's an effort of ours to try to broaden our horizons and make our workshops available to more people than what they are available to um, when we restrict it to just in person. So, welcome to that first effort in putting our workshop online here on YouTube. In a few moments, I'm going to start sharing some information from our workshop. This workshop was attended on Wednesday, September 18th at 6 p.m. at the Brecksville Library. I'm going to be going over the same material from that workshop, and we hope that you get a lot out of this. We had a lot of feedback from our workshop that everyone loved it, even those who consider themselves a fierce ally. And those who are even part of our BBH Pride organization said that they walked away from the event with learning something. And we hope that that's what we can offer you here today as well. It's just an opportunity to learn. That's how we grow and become better human beings. So without further ado, I'm going to go off camera and I will share our presentation here. Bear with me. All right. So again, welcome to Allyship 102. Now we did have an Allyship 101 that was held in September of 2023, so last year. You do not have to have attended that workshop in order to benefit from the things that are discussed in 102. They're mostly different topics and just help us to be able to become better allies in our journey. As I mentioned before, I am the chair of BBH Pride's education team. I work alongside many other education team members, and without them, we would not be able to put this on or make this such a success. So I just want to thank all of our education team, as well as all of our volunteers that come and help us out for these events. That is really what enables us to continue to put those on. We encourage you to come to any of our in person events, but you are more than welcome to follow along our journey online. We're working very hard to begin to share more information online and have our workshops available to you on that front as well. And we'll go over some more things later on the presentation that will also be available. If you go ahead and look below this video, you will see a link to this PowerPoint presentation so you can follow along. Um, and if you have any questions, please go ahead and write those in the comments section. Please make sure to be respectful with any questions that you may present. So here are just some of the basic information that we show in our workshop. So we do provide complimentary refreshments and snacks in our workshops when you do come. If you attend in person, this is your chance to be able to mingle with other community members and get to know them. It's always really great to get introduced to someone who you have never met before. Last night alone, I was able to meet some people who I've never met before, and it was a wonderful experience. Um, in person, we provide Q&A cards, but again, we'll be able to answer any questions in the comment section here on YouTube. And overall, just give us some feedback if you like this format and if you were able to get something out of this presentation, which I hope you do. So today, as far as our agenda, we're going to be going over who is BBH Pride, why is allyship important, LGBTQ plus terminology defined, a discussion about pronouns. We're going to be talking about affirming communities and why that's important, ally next steps, so action steps, and then again, a good discussion period. So let's talk about who we are and who we're not. This pertains to BBH Pride, the organization. So we are a mix of LGBTQ plus persons, um, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, sons, daughters, and loved ones of LGBTQ plus persons. We're advocates for kindness and understanding. We accept people for who they are and realize it's not a choice. We're a 501c3 nonprofit who's been trained to offer understanding, amplify the voices of the LGBTQ plus community, and teach each other's so together we can help keep people safe. We abide by the philosophy of the golden rule here, whether that be within our comments section, our workshops, in person, anything. So you may ask yourself, what is the golden rule? You may have heard it before. The golden rule is just treat people how you would want to be treated. But we'd like to take that philosophy to the next level. And the next level above the golden rule is called the platinum rule. And with the platinum rule, it takes it just to that next level, and that is treat people the way they would want to be treated. Not necessarily how you would want to be treated, but how they would want to be treated. And we really do try to live by that, and you'll see some of that philosophy in the slides to come. Who we're not. We're not militant activists. We're not activists. So we are an advocacy group. You may ask yourself, well, what's the difference between an advocacy group and an activist group? An advocacy group just provides information to you, works to educate you, where an advocacy group um, wants to institute change. Um, and although change is good, um, we're not about taking change by any forceful measures. We are very much an advocate group and just try to advocate for the LGBTQ plus community and be there in solidarity and provide as much information as we can about any particular subject. We're not a political group. We're not a sexual ideology group. Um, we do not have a agenda of convincing anyone to be a certain way, whether that be an individual, youth, children. We're not trying to convince anyone. We're just trying to have open arms for those who need us. People looking to shame, we're not looking to shame anybody. And that includes those on their allyship journey. So we're not looking to shame anyone who's maybe just starting in their journey. How to be a good ally. So stop offensive languages when you hear it. Um, Interact with support to those in the LGBTQ plus community. Never assume orientation or gender identity unless told. Try to use gender neutral pronouns when possible. Well, what does that mean? So sometimes you meet someone new and they're very masculine presenting or they're very feminine presenting. That is a lot easier. But when you have someone, if you're not sure, don't try to assume. It's always safe to just use those gender neutral pronouns, they, them, their, unless you're advised of a different one to use. Don't try to fix or change people. Respect boundaries and confidentiality when needed. Listen to understand, not to reply, judge, or even have the answers really at all. and stay updated on LGBTQ plus events, news, and overall advocate. The biggest thing that you can do to be a good ally is if you see something, say something. So, what could that look like? Maybe you're in a Zoom meeting and someone says something obscure or not quite right. Um, coming off camera and having a look on your face like, whoa, wow, that really wasn't right. Or just simply saying something to them to the nature of, hey, that's not cool. Don't do that. Standing up for folks. That is what an ally really is. And that's just some good starting points of how to be a good ally. Where are you on your allyship journey? You may ask yourself. So, on your allyship journey, you could be an acquaintance, a friend, an almost ally, or a strong ally. Saying that you're an ally is not all inclusive, it is a spectrum. So, an acquaintance could be someone that says, hey, I have gay friends. They're really nice people. I believe in them living their lives, but I don't want to talk about it. A friend would be, hey, I know plenty of LGBTQ plus people, and I like them a lot. Some are really good friends. I believe in their human rights and their freedom to marry. I think people should leave them alone. But I'm not going to hang a pride flag or get into arguments about anything with people. Some people just, you love the sinner, hate the sin. I'm sure we've all heard that very sentence right there, which can be hurtful at times. Um, Almost ally. I saw my LGBTQ plus friend get harassed in a bar, and I stepped in and tried to educate that person. I wish people would leave them alone. He should enjoy all the same rights and privileges that I do, but I do think some things go too far, like that gender affirming care stuff. And a strong ally. I went to a Pride celebration and had a lot of really great conversations with people. I will never walk in their shoes, but I understand their struggle more now. Whenever the subject comes up, I'm going to really try to spread awareness about the issues relating to the gay and trans communities. I will use my own safe space of privilege to help the community. I will help to celebrate and support the community in all the ways they have explained will help them feel safe and welcome. I'm sure a lot of you have been to different Pride events, and especially our BBH Pride Fest that we have every year in June. Um, it is just a time of great happiness and wonderful times with your neighbors and friends. Um, it's just a wonderful thing to behold. Um, and you may be an acquaintance right now, but maybe after seeing this chart, you move yourself up to friend. And then once you're friend, you move yourself up to ally. You're not going to have perfection overnight. And I like to tell people this. Um, I'm a gay man, and when I came out to my family, I had to give them time to cope. I had to give them time to get used to things. And they started at a basic level and grew and grew and grew until where we are today. And that is exactly what you can do as well in your allyship journey. So, no more should you find yourself just saying, oh, I'm an ally, but at the same time, ever find yourself saying things like, love the sin or hate the sin. Or, you know, I like the gay people, but I don't like that trans stuff. Those are should be cues to you that um, well, maybe I should reevaluate this. Maybe I should think about this. Maybe I'm not as strong of an ally as I should be, but I know I can be, and I know I can get there. So I'm going to work on it. Let's go ahead and hear from some actual LGBTQ plus people and share as they share what a true ally really looks like. This is a video put on by GLAD, which is a nationwide advocacy organization, and it's just a beautiful video. So let's go ahead and watch that now.
You want to be a good ally? Show up for your trans friends. You don't need to change the world. Show up on a local, palpable level for the people in your life who matter to you.
A good ally is someone who knows how to speak, how to be heard, but also how to listen.
A good ally knows when to shut up and takes a step back and uplifts the people that need their voices to be heard.
I think one of my biggest frustrations with allies actually comes from the people who purport to be very liberal and very informed. I've experienced a lot of people who think that they know exactly what they're talking about and are very resistant to hearing anything to the contrary. They're not interested at all in when you say, hey, what you just said really hurt me, and so if you could use this instead, and they're like, well, no, I say this, and that's how I've always said it, and it's fine. I had one gay person tell me it was fine.
You need to know as an ally not to speak over people, not to speak for people, and not to tell other people's stories that are not your own, but be able to stand in for someone when they need you to, when they ask you to, and say and use the information that you know to combat hate and bigotry.
A good ally is someone who is willing to make sacrifices in order for all of us to have a better life.
What a beautiful video. And really just demonstrates everything so beautifully that we were just talking about. Next, we're going to have an activity. So I want you to look at this. There are 20 terms here, and I want you to look at all of the terms that you see on your screen, and I want you to count how many of those terms you already know without looking anything up. How many of this do you know? Do you know all 20? Do you know 15? Do you know 10? Do you know 5? Do you know none? So take a moment, count through those, see how many you know. In our workshop that we held, there were only 2 people in the audience who said that they knew all 20, and they were members of BBH Pride. So the point of this exercise is to give yourself grace. You're not going to know every term that you see in front of you here. However, with what we're going to be going over today, hopefully you'll be able to walk away with knowing more about what some of these terms are. So let's go over that real quick. Some of the ones that stood out was dead naming. What is dead naming? Dead naming is you're intentionally, for a trans individual, you're intentionally using a name that they no longer go by. Maybe the name that they were born with, and now they're going by a different name, and you are intentionally not using their new name. That would be considered dead naming, and it's very harmful. Another one is the GSA. That's the Gay Straight Alliance. It's a lot of times in different high schools. It's like a club or a group that students can come to, both gay and straight, and stand in solidarity with each other. What's AFAB, AMAB? That's assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth. GLAD is that advocacy organization that just put on that video. And some of these we're going to be going over in the slides to come as well. But if you see one that I haven't defined and you have a question, put it in the comments and I'll make sure to get that answered for you. What does this LGBTQ IA plus all that even mean? This is a question that I have been asked directly before on multiple occasions. What do all those abbreviations mean? I see all these alphabets, but I don't know what it all means. Okay, well, let's go over that. So some of the letters are easy: lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. It's what a lot of people know, LGBT. And for many years, that's how we went, is LGBT. And it's okay to still say that, but saying LGBTQ, LGBTQIA, LGBTQ plus, it's just more inclusive. So after the T comes Q. Now, some people say that this is queer, some people say it's questioning. So it can be either or. Um, Intersex is I, which we'll go over in a moment, asexual, and plus is everything else. Anything that doesn't fall within these other categories. Um, so that is what LGBTQIA plus does stand for. The word queer also defines the entire community, the queer community. So again, these are just definitions of some of the common ones that we were just going over. Um, you can pause to read anything that you wish regarding lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, but I'm not going over those right now because most people know those ones. Let's go over the less known ones. So queer, I mentioned, is a term often used to express fluid identities or orientations. It's also used interchangeably with LGBTQ, so the queer community, for example. The word queer used to be a slur. I know when I went through high school, which was the late 90s, early 2000s, if you called someone queer, those were some fighting words right there. It was very hurtful. However, the community has taken that term back and empowered it to be within our nomenclature now. Um, and even just saying things as general as the queer community or this person identifies as queer. That is okay. It's still not okay to use that in a derogatory term. Like, you're using it to be hurtful. Questioning, a term used to describe people who are in the process of exploring their sexual orientation or gender identity. A lot of people are in that questioning phase, truthfully, when they're teens. I know that, as I mentioned before, I'm a gay man, and I went through that questioning phase when I was like 13, 14 years old. Um, and then, of course, you come to the point where you know. Now, other terms, these are the ones that are less common. So let's go over what some of these are. So intersex. Um, Intersex are people who are born with both sex anatomies. So they are both male and female on a biological level. They were born with both. Um, there are some intersex variations. Um, Genitalias can look different, chromosomes, um, their internal organs, hormone production, um, and secondary sex traits. Um, in years past, I know, like when I was growing up, the word that was used for this was hermaphrodite. Now, hermaphrodite is like a slur now. It's very hurtful and harmful. And so that's something that's important to know, to not refer to someone that way. Um, Intersex is the appropriate way to refer to somebody who is both male and female. Cisgender. Cisgender can also just be called cis. It's been shortened to that. It describes someone who's um, basically you identify with the same gender as what you were born as. Some people would, so if your birth certificate says male, and you identify as a male, you are cisgendered. If your birth certificate says female and you were born as a female and you identify as a female, you are cisgender. It's not necessarily as much about the birth certificate, but what you were born as is what you identify with. So, in other words, you never needed to change anything about your sexuality or your identity. Cisgender also doesn't have, it has nothing to do with whether you're gay or lesbian. Uh, it just has to do with I was born as a man. I still identify as a man. I am cisgender. Pansexual. This is one that I get asked about a lot. So, pansexual describes someone who is attracted to someone emotionally, um, and not so much regarding to sexual attraction. Um, Now, that means that you could be attracted to someone emotionally or romantically of any gender, um, but that you're not necessarily attracted to them because they're female or because they're male. You don't look at them and say, wow, that's a really attractive person. You have to get to know that person, know them on an emotional level. So a pansexual person may be in a relationship with the same sex, with a different sex, with someone who's non binary, or with someone who's trans as well. It's all about the person and not the sex organs that that person has. Asexual, often referred to as ace for short, asexual refers to um, a complete or partial lack of sexual attraction or interest, really, with anyone else. It doesn't exist on a spectrum. There are some asexual people who are married individuals. There are people who've been together for decades. Um, there are a lot of asexual people that still seek companionship, but without the sexual component of it. So asexual just means that they are usually not interested in sex or extremely seldomly. Um, and that they may be someone who just wants to be on their own, or they may be someone who wants to be in a relationship. They crave that loving partnership with somebody, but not the other portion of that. I have known many asexual people, and they're wonderful. Um, non-binary. Non-binary is somebody who does not fit within the male or the female category. Um, this could be someone who is maybe was assigned male at birth, but they have a lot of feminine traits, and they don't want to just define themselves by saying that they're a man. They they know that they may have been born as a man, but have a lot of aspects of femininity. And it could be the opposite way. It could be a female or someone who was born as a female and have just maybe all of they like that about themselves, but all of their traits are all very masculine. They may be someone who would be considered non-binary. Um, in the past, like when I was growing up, you were shoved into the binary being male or female, bi meaning two. Um, so you could be a masculine female or you could be a effeminate male. But now that there's more terminology for this, they're not necessarily forced within that binary. They don't have to pick male, they don't have to pick female. They can just be themselves and who they are. Gender identity, one of the innermost concepts of someone's self. So that is, how do you feel? Do you like you're a female? Do you feel like you're a male? It could be a blend of both, neither. However, individuals perceive themselves and then what they call themselves. Okay? So that's what that is. How to use the terms. So, terms to use: transgender or trans. Not to use. We don't use transsexual or transvestite. That had been used in the past, and they're very hurtful now. We've moved on from from the hurtful language. So when you call someone transvestite or transsexual, um, it's very hurtful. You want to stick more to transgender or just trans. You don't want to use the word sex change. You want to use the word transition. You don't want to use the word sexual identity, because your identity has nothing to do with your sexuality. You want to use gender identity. So your gender is what you're identifying with. Your sexuality, who that's who you're attracted to. So your sexuality is who you're attracted to, and your gender is what you are. You don't want to use the word homosexual. You want to just say gay or lesbian or the queer community. The word homosexual um, can be hurtful because it was used as a weapon against the community for many years. You don't want to say gay marriage. It's not gay marriage, it's just marriage. I'm married and I have been for the last 10 years. But don't define me by the fact that I'm gay. It's just marriage. I'm no different than my neighbor next to me who's also married. Sexual preference, there's no preference about it. It's just it is what it is. So that's your orientation. Gay rights. We like to use the word equality instead of gay rights. Um, Hermaphrodite, like I mentioned earlier, is derogatory. So we would use the word intersex. Eliminate the harm. So be supportive at home. Did you know that fewer than 1 in 3 non binary or transgender youth don't find their own homes to be affirming? And that is a statistic from the Trevor Project. Words matter, and kids do listen to what you say, even when you think they aren't listening. Make sure they feel safe to be authentically themselves. Now let's talk about conversion therapy. Conversion therapy can be extremely harmful, and it is essentially where these kids are sent to camps to pray the gay away or to um, think that they can get rid of being gay. So, according to the UCLA, 7% of LGBT adults in the US have experienced conversion therapy. An estimated 81% of people who have had conversion therapy received it from a religious leader. Those who underwent are 92% greater odds of lifetime suicidal ideation. Cleveland, Akron, Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, Dayton, and Lakewood, and Cleveland Heights, and Kent, and Athens, and Reynoldsburg have all passed measures banning conversion therapy for minors. Did you know in Cuyahoga County, there are 18 cities in Cuyahoga County? 8 have banned conversion therapy, meaning in our county alone, there are still 10 cities out there that allow conversion therapy to still exist. Let's talk about the importance of pronouns. When correct names and pronouns are used, statistics show that suicide rates do drop, while trust and feeling of belonging increase. It's also a sign of respect, said Saul Ramos from the National Education Association. When we were in our workshop in person, our wonderful Linda was presenting this portion, and she mentioned about a story within her family that I'd like to share with you. So, her brother and sister in law have three children: Meredith, and a child who is gay, and a child who is straight. Meredith has a partner, Quim, and they live in Iowa. And so Linda only sees them once a year. Last month, they were all on vacation and stayed in the same hotel. Her brother texted her that they had arrived and to meet him and his wife by the swimming pool. She got down to the pool, and her sister in law pulled up a chair for her. The first thing she said was, Quinn is transitioning, and her pronouns are she, her. And Meredith's pronouns are they, them. So, yes, pronouns are important. Why do pronouns matter? Many cisgender people have never had to think about their pronouns. They can take them for granted because their pronouns have always aligned with their gender identity. For those outside of the binary, or where gender doesn't necessarily align with their sex assigned at birth, um, being called the wrong pronoun daily is hurtful. It is one of many experiences which can make them feel rejected and dysphoric about their gender. Using the correct pronoun for someone is a critical way to show that you recognize, acknowledge, and accept their gender. Intentionally using the wrong pronoun when you know that that's not what they're going by is the most hurtful thing that you can do to somebody. Um, that would be aligned with if your name is Fred and you are male and you go to your job and everyone's saying, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and calling you she and her all day when you're obviously not, it would be that same exact situation. You may hear people say, quote unquote, preferred pronouns. Gender isn't a preference, it's just who you are. Pronouns identify to the world, and thus they aren't a preference. They just are. And this all comes from the source reimaginegender.org. Please feel free to check it out at your leisure. Next, let's go over some specific pronouns. So, this is our pronouns 101, if you will. So, we have she, her, her. This is the feminine. We're all very familiar with that, right? She went to the store. I spoke to her. It was her apple. The masculine pronoun he, him, his. That's the one I identify with. He went to the store. I spoke to him. It was his apple. The gender neutral is they, them, their. They went to the store. I spoke to them. It was their apple. Another gender neutral pronouns, which are called neo pronouns. Now, a neo pronoun, neo is a prefix that just means new. So the last two lines here are some new pronouns. I'm sure there will be continue to be more, but these are some of the pronouns that we've learned from our younger generations as well. So Z, Zerzem, Zerzes. Z went to the store. I spoke to Zerzem. It was Zerzes's apple. Z, her, hers. Another gender neutral. Z went to the store. I spoke to her. It was hers apple. Okay, so I know some of that can be a little confusing. And I promise you that anyone who is going by those last few, the neo pronouns, the newer ones, most are Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Um, you know, they will give you grace. Just make sure that you try to respect however they are identifying. and what their preferences set. All right, so let's go ahead and review some of the data here, okay? So according to the Trevor Project, the majority of youth embrace using pronouns. 75% of LGBTQ plus youth use he, him, or she, her. 25% use something else outside of the binary. Again, the binary is male, female. Anything not that would be outside of the binary. Pronoun usage can include she and they, or he and they, as well as she, he, and they to express the nuances in their gender identity. It's personal for them. 4% of LGBTQ plus youth use the pronouns unfamiliar to the majority. So it's not a huge percentage that is going to be using these neo pronouns, but there are some. So 4% will use things such as Zer, Z, them, Fey, fair. These are called neo pronouns, as I mentioned, and it's all part of their journey and how to identify themselves. So again, we just try to be respectful and use whatever they are comfortable with using. All right, well, what if I messed up, you might say? If you make a mistake, it's best to just quickly apologize and move on with the conversation. If you hear someone else misgender someone, you may also correct them that they are more likely to use the correct pronouns in the future. So, the protocol for this is you make a mistake, don't gravely apologize every single time. You make an apology once or twice, as long as you are not intentionally, purposely saying the wrong one that's going to be harmful or hurtful to that person. They're going to give you grace. It's okay. Sometimes we mess up. So, an example of that would be I have a friend who goes by they, them pronouns, right? And I've caught myself before saying he, him, right? Not purposefully. I didn't do it to hurt them, but, I might be in conversation and I would say, well, he said to do this. And then I would immediately catch it and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, they said to do this. You can just correct yourself very easily. If you mess up once and you forget to correct yourself, you just do it right the next time. Sometimes you're going to notice some folks who are having a hard time and they're really not saying the right thing. And when that happens, it's okay to just say something to them. Maybe your grandfather is always saying he, and you know that this person goes by they now. So, just saying something as simple as, it's not he, it's they. So you want to say they, um, can be the thing that sets you apart as an ally. You're just trying to be there to support your friend. Affirming communities make a difference 100%. 45% of LGBTQ plus youth have seriously considered attempting unaliving themselves in the last year. That's 1.8 million people, my friends. That's based on a 2022 Trevor Project survey. That's a huge number. That's 45% of LGBTQ plus youth. Um, However, LGBTQ plus youth having at least one affirming space in their community reduced the unaliving attempts by 35% in the past year. What does that say to you? It says support matters. They need to know that they are not alone. They need to know that someone cares and that someone is there. An affirming community is exactly what we want to be. That is what we're trying to be. We're just trying to be there and have a space for these people to not feel like they're alone. Let's talk about You say, okay, all right, Matt, I get you. I hear you said affirming community, but what is it? So let's go ahead and define that a little bit here. So being an affirming community means actively supporting the rights and struggles of the LGBTQ plus community, having equal access to public services like education and healthcare, as well as guaranteeing their right to be protected from discrimination and hate crimes. If you go to the police about a hate crime, not being dismissed and being taken legitimately for that. It also means creating a safe space to express their identities, opinions, beliefs without fear of judgment or backlash. It means actively standing up and speaking out in solidarity when they face unjust laws and policies, and doing everything possible to ensure their rights are respected and upheld. It's about understanding, respecting, and validating people for who they are. This means creating safe spaces where everyone is encouraged to bring their full selves to the table and to be their authentic selves. This comes from the source of innerhearttherapy.org. Please feel free to check out that website. It has some really wonderful information on there. And just so you know, an affirming community, like I mentioned, BBH Pride is trying to be that. We're trying to be here as a safe space within our community. It matters. It truly does. When you have someone in the queer community, especially a youth or someone who is struggling um, with acceptance, seeing a friendly event such as Pride Fest within your own community lets you know that you're not alone. And that's why it's so vital. All right, allyship call to action. So this is kind of a commitment that you can make. So as an ally, we're going to commit to these things. Thoroughly and continually evaluate your personal beliefs and educate yourself on LGBTQ plus related issues in order to ensure that you're always creating a safe space. If you're watching this event or if you attend any of these workshops, you're already doing this. You are trying your hardest to ensure that you're creating that safe space, that you're trying to be a good ally. As an ally, you will create a non judgmental, open minded, hate free environment where all LGBTQ plus persons can safely visit your home or business. I can't tell you as a gay man, sometimes you get invited to go over to someone's house and you say, is that safe for me? Can I be myself there? Um, Business is even more. Go out to a restaurant. Am I going to be asked to leave if I hold the hand of my partner or of my spouse? Um, do I feel like I'm going to face persecution just for existing within that space? Um, or do I just feel unwelcome there? I've experienced that many times, even in my own community, where I'm like, I'm not going to that place because, ooh, I know they don't like me. They don't like my kind there. So, um, you know, it's a real reality for a lot of folks. I will challenge language and behavior that is contrary to providing a safe environment, both in and out of my personal space. I will find opportunities to spread awareness to others about the importance of LGBTQ plus issues. And lastly, I will become familiar with issues, current events, resources around LGBTQ plus issues, and help to foster them in my own life. And again, you're already doing that by being here. Now let's look at 7 steps on your journey. What steps can you take? 1, take on the struggle as your own. Use your space of privilege to help someone who doesn't have that same privilege. Number 2, transfer the benefits of your privilege to those who lack it, kind of what I just said. Number 3, amplify the voices of the oppressed before your own. Acknowledge that even though you feel pain, the conversation is not about you, it's about them. Stand up even when you feel scared. So even when it's not comfortable for you to stand up, that's what a true ally is being that person to stand up. Maybe you have somebody in your family who recently came out and you are at family get together, dinner party, what have you, and someone in your family is making them feel unwelcome or it's using language that's being hurtful to them, just standing up and saying, hey, that's not okay. Owning your mistakes and decentering yourself. Again, it's not about you. Understanding that your education is up to you and no one else. You have to make the steps to learn more. Thank you so much. We hope that you have learned more in becoming a better ally. We also do have many upcoming things. We're going to be having a workshop in person on Wednesday, October 16th. It does say 6 p.m. on your screen, but it will be taking place at 6:30 p.m. We discovered in our last workshop we're more 6:30 people than 6 o'clock people. Our last workshop was in Brecksville at the Brecksville Library. Our next one will be in Broadview Heights, so we can work on including that community as well. And so it'll be the Broadview Heights Community Center. It'll be on the second floor in the council chambers. We have been able to reserve that room for Wednesday, October 16th. It's a good size room, so we can fit a considerable amount of folks in there. That also allows us to make sure that we're, inclusive of both communities that we represent. We hope that you would join us as an ally to help make Brecksville Broadview Heights a community that loves and supports our LGBT citizens and youth. We do have a once a month newsletter that does come out via email, which you can definitely sign up for. You can sign up for that on our website, which is bbhpride.org. I do have some QR codes here as well. You can find us on Instagram at bbhpride.org. And our public Facebook page is BBH Pride OH. And YouTube, which you're on right now, is just under BBH Pride. And we are going to be launching our podcast. Podcasts are going to start on October 11th and will be released monthly on the second Friday of every month on YouTube here, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please feel free, more than just feel free, please like this post here. Please follow us on YouTube and hit that bell icon for notifications so you will know when we post new content. We don't have a ton of content going out there all the time, so you're not going to get notifications, every day. But we're hoping once or twice a month that we'll be able to post some new content online coming from your education group here. We also do have a private Facebook group. If you are a true ally and are able to commit to our allyship agreement, you're welcome to explore that as well. That is found under groups under BBH Pride in Facebook. Our newsletter is truly spectacular. We have an awesome person leading that up, and it shares lots of information. So again, sign up for the newsletter at bbhpride.org. There's lots of good nuggets of information there as well. So again, thank you for sticking around here. We truly appreciate your support, and your love towards the community. We hope to connect with you again very soon. But for now, bye-bye, and have a great day.